and see the game when it launches. And
Yeah,
we are ready to
hopefully
go.
my mic doesn't cut out too
Yeah.
much today.
I think it will just be a case of trying to speak a little bit more loudly, because it seems to be whenever you tail off a little bit. I think that's the only thing. So
Yes.
in the bottom right of the map, we have Viper in yellow, and extremely close to him, just a couple of screens away towards the top of the map, we have Vivi in red. There is a pause right at the start of the game. Don't know what that's for, but Paladin seems to be checking that he's still in, so I've replied to him.
Yeah, that's paused for me as well.
Yeah, we've got an unpause, that's good.
Okay.
So, as I was saying, the play is incredibly close to each other and pretty much wide open. Besides that oasis between the two players, it's basically just...
So Vivi just asked for a pause. Yeah.
Vivi just had to pause. Okay, sorry, you're still cutting out again. So I was just wanting to try and listen to what you're saying. I think you need to probably lower the threshold on your microphone or something like that. But yeah, this is a pretty...
It's probably on the side. I mean,
yeah, I'm afraid like I barely heard most of that until it's probably on this side at the end. Anyway, trying to get into the games and just having another look at the map. You see Viper's got a back gold, which is pretty safe. Woodline's probably looking a little bit sparse close to his town centre, but not too bad a little bit further away. He does have a fairly decent one towards the back, and it's kind of a sort of like back left area that he'll be looking to like place priority on defending, because his gold, main woodline and berries and stone are all going to be in that area, but to some extent he's going to be able to defend that area from uphill. So even though it's quite a wide open map on the front, I think Viper can defend this part of his map pretty nicely, especially with some walls up between the cliffs on the left as well to force Vivi to go around. Does have a boar on the front though, so we can see if that ends up getting there's any kind of like steal attempt going on there. For Vivi, he pretty much has the same thing as Viper, where all of his resources that he wants, like some berries, a wood line, and one stone and gold mine in the back. That gold mine in particular looks very defensible, but again, another forward boar which could be vulnerable to some laming. But the actual map themselves between the two players, it's almost as though the two maps are joined. So, as somebody in the chat was saying, a drush could actually be very, very quick in terms of actually meeting the enemy's base, because there's really very little travel distance at all. So I think that we're going to see a game where both players are looking to stay on the offensive, because if they try to be a bit passive, then what will happen is that the enemy can really just kind of get units into their base very, very quickly, so they won't want to be retreating too much into their shell. I would actually say that this map would make drushing pretty essential, I would say, simply because it's going to have a lot of time to be present in the enemy base doing a lot of harassment, and we can see that Viper's definitely going for that. Vivi though, 3 on wood for now, so he could well be just going with scouts instead. You can see if the players have actually found their opponents yet. Viper's took a little bit of a circuitous route, but he's found Vivi, including the main gold, berries and wood, so he knows that Vivi's entire economy is going to be concentrated in this area in the early to mid game, whereas Vivi still hasn't found Viper yet, so he's not really aware of the fact that he's actually so close to his enemy. Just luring in his second boar so he didn't get a boar stolen, and it doesn't seem like he'll be stealing Vipers either, as that one is actually coming in right now. It seems like Helen's presence in the chat would indicate that maybe she's given up on trying to join me. I can't tell, but that's a shame. But I guess I'll have to proceed alone.
no, I was just, you were having.
Oh, okay. It's just because you're saying like the TS isn't cooperating or anything like that.
Fine. So.
Okay, that's good. So do you have anything else to
I
add?
also have like a 10-second delay.
Delay
Sorry, yeah.
What is
The
delay?
delay, I don't know when this, but about the farm time.
I'm afraid I'm really not able to tell what you're saying. So, anyway, for the meantime, Vivi at 22 population doing loom, so it looks like he's going to go up doing 22 population scouts. You can see if these villagers go over here to build another lumber camp, that would seem to be the case. Indeed, I think he will be opting for scouts. So let's have a look what kind of success that's likely to meet. Viper's wood line is obviously quite far away from his town centre, and given that he's opting for a drush, he won't have a spearman for a while yet to defend, but he's going forward with that drush now, so his aim will probably be to keep Vivi's scouts occupied for a little while until he gets up to the feudal age and he can take some precaution at that wood line with either a spear or some palisade walls. I think Vivi probably had scouted the barracks of Viper. I know he hadn't seen it, but perhaps he saw how many villagers were on the wood. But it could also have been predicting it, of course. He's managed to wall in all of the villages that are far away from the town centre for now. So Viper's drush isn't going to do too much. He'll probably find the best use of them at this point, considering he's walled out from the resources, would be just trying to harass Vivi's stable builder if possible, or potentially keeping the initial scouts occupied. He may even choose to retreat them to his base if he thinks Vivi's scouts are going to attack him there, but just keep the forward scout occupied to know where those scouts are going, of course. Vivi's palisaded a wolf over here, just to know that it's there. That, of course, is a little trick to know if Viper's sneaking some military around the map later on, if he sees that the wolf is gone. Viper on the way to the feudal age with 24 villagers, so we can see he's opting for some kind of drush flush combination here, where he'll do a Dark Age rush with the militia and then go into feudal age units. Going up with slightly more villagers and trying to do a bit more of a drush fast castle would be slightly risky on this map, considering that it is open and the players are so close. So he'll do a drush flush build in order to try and keep the pressure constantly on Vivi's base and away from his own map, which, as I said, he is open and his villages are very far away from the town centre. Scouts coming out for Vivi now. He's sent, that's actually probably his initial exploration. He's trying to mass 3 more scouts here on the left hand side. But Viper putting up a stable of his own. Is he doing a spearman to defend as well? Yeah, that's the case. So he's going to do a spearman. I'll probably position that over towards his wood line, and with a spearman and a scout or so out, additional scout or so of his own out, he'll be able to defend pretty easily at home. Vivi's still walled up for now, and no more military production buildings coming up just yet, but this is a really nice spot for Vivi on the right hand side, finding all of these villagers for Viper, which are taking shorefish and deer here, and I could see quite a couple of them could very well go down. The spearman is coming, so it's a case of whether Vivi chooses to hang around and try and get a villager pick or two, or get out there. One villager surviving with just 4 hit points. Actually, it's really unfortunate for Vivi that he didn't pick up 2 kills there, because that was a really nice catch for him. And Viper, as you can see, is taking advantage of this little cornucopia of food that he's found. He's able to hunt the deer out of that mill, but also take shorefish. And villagers gathering shorefish, I think, are the fastest land-based food there is. So that's a kind of like really nice, fortunate map generation that he's actually able to mill deer and shorefish at the same time. See, Viper's just doing scouts of his own for now. So we're going to see both players doing a feudal age scout war at this point. But Viper should be just a tiny bit stronger in terms of having the villagers working for slightly longer during the Dark Age, because he got those 2 villagers out much earlier, of course, choosing to go upon later population. But then again, having lost that villager on the mill, that's probably evened it up. And we can see that military-wise, Viper quite has a few more at this point. A couple of extra scouts out. although actually no, sorry, the military difference is supplied by the militia. And Viper's militia have been hammering away at this stable, almost threatening to take it down at this point. But Vivi's doing the classic Huns, scouts into archers transition, and managing to drive away those militia. And meanwhile, coming in for another go at these villagers on the right hand side. With just one spearman here, Vivi could well just choose to gang up on that spearman, take it down quickly, and then pick up the villager kills before or retreating. And I think he's managed to stand on that palisade, so it looks like he's going to get another. No, just about managing to keep that villager alive. Viper. He's now got 2 villagers here on just 4 hit points. If Vivi was to bring his archers over here, we could pick up 2 kills almost instantly. But those archers staying at home for now. And Viper seems to have had enough of being raided over here, just going over there to clean it up with some more scouts. For now, nothing much happening back at Vivi's base. We can see that his wall offs are still effective. He is open on the gold mine, but Viper is under the most pressure at the moment, I'd say. He's down at least 2 villagers. And we can see that that's reflected in the villager difference on the dashboard as well. Does seem to have a couple more scouts, because obviously Vivi has sustained some losses whilst picking up those villagers, but of course that's a worthwhile trade. Do you need team colours? Okay, let me put those on. So just so that you guys are aware, and due to some people in the chat requiring team colours, we've now got Viper in blue and Vivi in red. So it's going to take me a moment to get used to that. Viper's actually choosing to get those villagers out of there now. The shorefish is gone. Fortunately for him, Vivi's scouts had moved away. So those 2 very low HP villagers will survive to meet another day. First real kind of like big battle in the feudal age coming in here. Vivi mainly archers and just a few scouts and outs which were taken care of by Viper's spearmen, and I think Vivi's just forced to retreat, and now he's taking a lot of damage to these scouts because he doesn't have enough archers. They're not massed up to the point where you can just start taking down scouts pretty effectively, and Vivi's taken losses of at least 2 archers as he tries to run away. The archers retreating into the small space of the oasis, of course. But it feels like Viper could have continued pursuing those archers, and he's going to go back in for another bite actually. Or is he? 2 spearmen close by. You can see that Viper's clicked up to the castle age, but Vivi is hot on his heels. About 20 seconds behind. Scaled barding armor coming in for Viper. Because he still has 5 scouts on the field, but he's actually dropping his second stable, so we could see him heading into knights and not cavalry archers. Which of course is going to make that scale barding armor upgrade much more useful, as it will apply to both the scouts and the knights when we get to the castle age. Meanwhile, Vivi doing padded archer armor and dropping more ranges, so I think we're going to see like a cavalry archer transition from Vivi. In fact, going on to a 4th range. Probably continue to produce some archers on the way up, and then switch into cavalry archers after getting the expo upgrade. But there's a hole in Vivi's woodline, and Viper scouts are going to get in, and this could be quite disastrous because they're going to be doing downhill hits on the villagers on the way back. You can see that at least 1 is going to go down, and Viper should be able to pick up a second one here. Those downhill hits mean those villagers are going down double quick time, and that has evened up the villager difference, I think. It was 2 villagers ahead for Vivi, but now they're on just 1 difference between the 2. And that 1 difference is actually in Viper's favour, so I don't know whether Vivi had a tiny little bit of idle time or something like that. I'm going to assume that both of them have wheelbarrow at this point, although Town Watch could be a difference. I didn't really see if either of them did that. So Viper reaching the castle age, immediately doing bowsaw and placing 1 town centre. So not going complete military approach, is going for an economic approach as well, but nonetheless able to keep production of 2 stable knights with +1 armour and bloodline, so they're going to be very strong in this initial part of the castle age.
Oh, I just came back and Vivi is going to die now.
Yep, I really do feel that he's in a lot of danger at the moment, because with Viper doing +1 bloodlines knights from a couple of stables, and him only having a few crossbows and a map where, if the knights get onto that area they can idle the whole economy, it's looking pretty dicey for him. is managing to do some fairly effective crossbow raiding on the wood line in the bottom left though. Picking up a villager and forcing Viper away from that wood line. But you have to feel that those crossbows could be quite vulnerable to the knights if Viper masses up just a little bit more. He's got 6 knights at home and a few skirmishers, so he should be able to drive that away pretty easily.
And they have +2 armor, so he's going to wipe out Vivi's army really quickly if Vivi's not careful.
Yeah, I didn't see the +2 armor come in, actually. Vivi taking a nice hole in that forest, which allows him to not take too many hits from the knights and the scouts, but obviously the skirmishers are there as well, just whittling down the HP. And also Vivi's knights, you know, Vivi's crossbows, they don't do tremendous amounts of damage once +2 armor comes in for the knights. Managing to pick up villages on Viper's gold though, so even though he's losing his army, he is managing to even the economy account somewhat, because Viper was building a lead with those 2 town centres. Nonetheless, I feel like Viper's in just a way stronger position with those +2 knights and Vivi losing so much of his army right now.
I think the problem is Vivi's going cav archers, he doesn't have bloodlines yet for his cav archers, and Viper's massing army. Like, it's nice to kill a few vills, but if you don't have the army numbers when the knights come in, his entire army's going to die and then his eco's dead as well.
Yeah. Couldn't really afford to be losing so many crossbows just for picking up a few villages here or there, because you really do need that mass to take on the +2 knights, you're right. Viper now up to 3 town centres and taking control of that forward gold as well, so his gold income is secure with 2 different gold piles. And meanwhile Vivi is just looking increasingly cramped. Like, that wood line he's got is not looking the most efficient anymore, and he's given himself so little space on the map. Viper can just keep prowling around. And it looks like those +2 knights are going to come in on the gold mine now, and there could be a number of kills here. Seems like Vivi probably is going to get away with just 1 villager down, which could have gone much worse for him. Nice cavalry archer raiding coming in on Viper's gold as well though, taking down a knight or 2 and some more villagers, but still Viper's villager lead continues to stretch due to the fact that he's on the 3rd town centre, and I think Vivi is still on 1.
Also, I just wanted to quickly point out something interesting. Vivi chose to go early ballistics and thumb ring, but still doesn't have bloodlines. So I'm not sure if he's just forgotten because he has a stable. Just an interesting choice, because usually you'd want bloodlines by now. Thumb ring's really great against knights, but definitely need bloodlines.
Yeah, I remember seeing Happy making that mistake, I think, in one of the matches against Tim yesterday, and the knights were just shredding through the cavalry archers so quickly. The bloodlines is pretty essential to have any staying power in the cavalry archers, you're right. Sorry, I just went silent for a little while just because I wasn't sure if you'd disappeared again. But yeah, I can see Vivi's still trying to do raiding with those cavalry archers, but running into town centre fire with no bloodlines, as you say, and just taking a lot of damage. And Viper's looking pretty well protected now. He's got all of his villages are working pretty close to town centres, and apart from picking off like the odd villager on a farm or something, he's probably not going to have amazing success with the cavalry archer raiding. And Viper's knights, I'm trying to tell if he got husbandry or not yet, because they're looking like they're moving pretty quickly. Probably could check the tech tree for that. But it feels like the knight choice is paying off more for Viper than the cavalry archer choice for Vivi at the moment. Vivi did manage to get up onto a 2nd town centre on the left hand side, securing more golden wood, but he's fallen 8 villagers behind now, and he's still down 1 town centre to Viper. Military numbers looking pretty even between both players as well, so you'd say that if Vivi wants to take any kind of straight fight, he would need the greater numbers, but he's not able to mass those numbers for now. And Viper's switching into a kind of mixed cavalry archer and knight army, which allows him to have a bit more of a combined arms and be countered less easily. And also it's just kind of an arm that has a lot of firepower. Cavalry archers as well will allow him to do some more raiding against the wood lines, etc. of Vivi, now that that has been walled off a little bit more again. And Viper getting those archer armor upgrades as well as ballistics coming in, which means that he'll be able to pick off any of Vivi's cavalry archers that are roaming around more easily. Let's have a look at the resource situation as well, just trying to see.
It's also a better transition for the later game because knights are really good early in Castle Age, but if you're thinking about playing for the longer game, then you definitely want to transition into cav archers as Huns because they're just so cheap. And you don't really want to go Cavalier or Paladins in Imperial Age unless you have a really, really strong, safe economy. Like, if you're fully stonewalled, maybe you'd consider it. But other than that, I don't see it working out.
I think Vivi's managed to take an okay fight here down in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. He's finally got bloodlines, and the knights aren't really able to engage just due to the fact that there's a one-tile gap. And it's hard to tell, but I think Vivi's probably picked up more kills out of that. I just have a slight military advantage, so perhaps that's the case. Massing more on the front as well with 2 monks and a siege workshop, so it feels like he just wants to continue ramping up the aggression. Both players, I think, are still a very long way from the Castle Age at the moment. The Imperial Age, sorry, committing to Castle Age warfare for quite a while longer.
Yep, Vivi took a really good fight down there actually because he had the +2 armor, he had the early thumb ring and ballistics, so the cav archers from Viper weren't doing that much and he didn't have that many, and the knights obviously were stuck in a bad position as well and couldn't attack his cav archers.
Did Viper have thumb ring during that engagement, do you know?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. And Vivi still has the greater numbers on the front as well, even as he does some raiding down the back. Like Viper has more cavalry archers than Vivi chasing after just those few, and Vivi's still managing to kind of slip the net and pick up some villages. So I think Vivi's like in an okay position in terms of being able to push in the next few minutes, but the economy advantage is there for Viper. And also, as you say, it's kind of transitioning better into the late game, whereas Vivi seems to be thinking more about making his move now. Viper also collecting up relics. I haven't checked if Vivi's managed to secure any yet. See that Viper's opting for a mangonel, possibly to try and deal with the ram from Vivi if it comes in, but he's also going to get a mangonel shot. Chooses to target the ram. The knight could take down the mangonel of Viper in combination with the cavalry archers, and Vivi's ram surviving adds another one, so we're probably going to see some kind of ram push on this forward TC. I don't know how effective that will be if Viper continues to pump out mangonels and add a couple of knights. Meanwhile, just a stray knight here or there for Viper, trying to pick up some kills and idle some economy for Vivi, and that's actually proving pretty effective. So many villagers idle on that tower on the top of Vivi's base. Vivi actually hasn't picked up a relic yet, so that's a small advantage for Viper there in terms of gold collection. 2 in the bank for him actually. Cavalry archers for Viper as well, taking up a nice position on top of the hill and the backwood line, continuing to idle the economy and pick up more villages, and that's well, actually the difference between the two players is holding pretty steady at about 6 or 7 villages for now. Viper has been losing some of his own as well, although Viper's actually going to move in and probably put an end to Vivi's push in the middle of the map now. He had enough knights there, and with the +2 armor they can tank some fire from Vivi's cavalry archers for quite a while in order to allow them to take down those rams. And there's a little bit of a hill now which Viper has actually managed to push Vivi away from, which means that any pushes from that direction from Vivi are going to be like suffering from the hill bonus, like a hill disadvantage. And those pesky cavalry archers still in Vivi's woodline. Vivi's had to deploy most of his army to get back there. Taking a slightly downhill fight, but with the numbers advantage, it's not going to matter too much, but it's just important that he clears those out. But even as that happens, Viper's prowling around the front of his base as well, probably going to pick off some more units and probably farmers as well. It feels like Vivi's slowly starting to lose a bit of control over the situation now, with Viper kind of raiding from cavalry archers in multiple different directions, and that is what's causing the villager difference to stretch now to 15, putting Viper at quite a significant economic advantage. big fight between both players coming in front of Vivi's archery ranges. It feels like both players will have lost roughly similar numbers of cavalry archers, but that was actually the bulk of Vivi's army, whereas Viper still has lots more presence on the map. I'm just going to resume in the lobby. Okay, it's fine. Just show you the achievements quickly before we back out for the next game. See that Viper collected a lot more food, 500 more gold, a little less wood, but the main thing that was decisive in that game was Castle Age choices there. Viper's knights were much more powerful than Vivi's cavalry archers that lacked bloodlines, and along with the fact that he just kind of like massed some more army and managed to raid from different directions and take more favourable fights in most places, I would say, besides that one in the bottom right oasis. That's responsible for the kills to deaths ratio that you see, and in the end that difference in the kills to deaths meant that Vivi, after taking that big fight in the front of his base, just didn't have any army left on the map, whereas Viper still had considerable presence. We'll quickly back out to game 2. You see that Viper had 15 more villagers, collected 2 relics as well.